never seen a smile so big on my little Lord lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bacon, I make plans for 7:45, and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Holy smokes, what a crowd we have already. Holy crap. Always a pleasure to see our CFN folks, whether it be OFC Nation or CFN, but nonetheless, another incredible turnout. First and foremost, big shout out, thank you to Steve Shaw. We spent the weekend together, my friend. It was a glorious 4 days that we had up at the Ottawa show. We're going to be talking about that with Big Jim when he comes on in his segment. But big shout out to Steve, who was a huge help at the casting pond and the OFC Nation booth. We managed to sell a lot of product. So we're going to get to all of that, as I said. But big shout out to Steve. He was a huge help. And a big thank you, dude. Sometimes I wonder how we do all what we're doing. But when I have great people like Steve, Walt, and the rest of our legacy members, including the community, not to mention our featured guests that are going to be coming on here. And, of course, we have Big Jim, who's going to be on here quick to talk about the Ottawa show. We got Lawrence, who's also going to talk about the state of affairs when it comes to shows. We're starting to see a bit of a trend downwards. Don't want to dump on it and be negative, but our industry needs a little bit of a help, a little bit of a push. And so Lawrence is going to maybe suggest some ideas on how we can do that. And, of course, Jay Barnucz is going to be on here as well, talking about basically the tease that's going on from Mother Nature and what to expect coming forward with the weather. Not to mention, of course, we're going to be talking about the Made in Canada tackle show that has become a buzz and overwhelming to a certain degree. And a lot of it is due to the support of the vendors, the buying from the vendors. Anyway, Moose also, I got a special surprise. Moose is going to be coming on at the end to talk about some gear stuff that he's been just dying to talk to us about. And of course, we'll announce a really cool show special that we're going to be doing on Friday of this week. So with all that being said, and with all that shared, I want to say hello, Jeremy, Steve, how you doing? Tony's in the house. Rocky's here. Ed McKenzie's in the house. Nice to see you. Justin, always a pleasure to see. Corey, nice to see. Bob, great seeing you as well. Eve, you stopped by. Man, we're lucky. What's the title of the intro song? You know what? I'll have to get that to you, Rocky. That's a great question. I know Red reached out to whoever it was that did that song, and he actually did it for CFN for Red, which was really cool. And we've been using it ever since. Sparkus, yeah, baby. You're going to be at the show, as I said, for all those who are going to be venturing down to the Made in Canada Tackle Show. We're going to get to all the highlights of that, but I got a few announcements that I want to get through before we do. First and foremost, of course, we just got back from the Ottawa show, as mentioned, and it was, as always, just as planned. It is always a great time. We always look forward to this show, and mainly because of the kids. It's all about the kids. We go there, obviously, to promote what we're doing with OFC Nation, but we get that opportunity because of Big Jim McLaughlin, of course, Scott Sprague, who was on last week, and a big shout out to Scott and his entire team who gave us a great 4 days of fun. Of course, they reach out and you just feel so welcoming to that show, and it's quite something. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that with Big Jim. Also wanted to give a shout out to our friends up in MFN Fishing. They had their Matagami First Nation Pike Derby this weekend. And, of course, anybody that knows the annual Pike Derby up in Matagami, there's some serious payouts In the first place, $10,000 all the way to fourth, which is $2,000. And here are our winners. If you can read the names, you're better than I am. But basically, Stefan Sauvé took home the winning fish, just south of 7 pounds. And he managed to take home $10,000, I believe, anyway, based on the number of participants. That is what was forecasted, a $10,000 payout. But congratulations to all those who placed in the top four. Quite an event, as always. It started on a very brisk Saturday. If anybody remembers what Saturday was like, holy smokes, was it cold. It was pretty chilly out in Ottawa as well. So hopefully those folks on Matagami had a great time. No, there was no frostbite. And, of course, no one fell through the ice up there, as it was probably at least 2 feet thick. But they have other derbies, as you saw, upcoming. So if you are in the Duberville area or Hearst, you've got March 9th in Duberville and, of course, March 16th. Please get in touch with those ladies who put it on, Christelle and Jessica. They do a fantastic job, and we're looking forward to seeing the results of those upcoming tournaments. Also, Jay Pierce would also want me to remind you all to sign up for the Spring Catfish Extravaganza that starts March 30th. It is a Saturday and goes till the 28th, which is a Sunday. That is all the information you need there. So please reach out to Jay if in fact you want to know more. There's the email, and I believe there's a phone number there as well that you might be able to call. But needless to say, it's all going through email. Please reach out and find out the details. And if you're interested in signing up, please do so, because that sounds like quite a derby. I honestly don't know what to say about this event that's coming up this weekend on Sunday, March 3rd. Doors are going to open at 9 a.m. They're going to close at 4 p.m. And this show has grown beyond expectation. And again, I can't thank you vendors enough for what you've done for this. I just hope we're able to deliver because you guys have gone above and beyond to sell this and to promote it. So a big shout out to all of you. I can't thank you enough. I really can't. I know Brad and I are a little anxious, to say the least, because we don't know what to expect. But from what we've heard from feedback so far, it's going to be overwhelming. So the only thing I can say is be patient. There might be a bit of a wait getting into the building. We'll make sure that we have some refreshments outside. Moose has also said that he'll step up and help out if need be in the parking lot, to try and keep those who are waiting engaged. And the only nice thing so far, the Lord, it looks like we're going to have good weather. It's not going to be cold. Nobody's going to be standing out in freezing cold weather. So fingers crossed. But I look forward to seeing you all there. And of course, at the Ottawa show, at the Spring Fishing and Boat Show, and of course at this show, including the upcoming Sportsman Show, as I'll mention in a second. Next Gen will be selling raffle tickets, and we're doing this obviously for the sake of gaining or raising money for these kids derbies, these two kids derbies that run up in Keswick and in Lindsay. There's some really cool prizes available. So CFN has donated a Shimano combo. It's an X-Pride with a Miraval reel. We've got Blue Jay tickets, and there are 2 air fryers and perhaps even more. But as I said, the Next Gen booth will be at the Woodstock Show, the Made in Canada Tackle Show, Sportsman Show. And then at the end of the Sportsman Show is when we will be announcing, drawing the winner, and the 4 winners, I should say. So you'll find all that out at the end of the Sportsman Show. And if you folks are interested in going to the Sportsman Show, that's when it is. Make sure you Google it. It's at the International Center. Looking forward to seeing everybody come by the Next Gen booth. It is going to be a great show as well. But as I said, we get a little bit of a reprieve between the Made in Canada, which is March 3rd, and then we're off to the Toronto Sportsman Show. And of course, the last show that's part of our season, can't forget, CanCast, April 7th, out in Lindsay. It's at the Peterborough Memorial Center. Sorry, Peterborough, not Lindsay. Peterborough Memorial Center. If you want more information, Kyle and his team, you got Sean McCall and Mark Hunter. You can reach out to Moose as well. He's also going to be able to provide you some information. If there's anything anybody needs to know about that show or any other shows, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. We will certainly put you in the right direction. So we're looking forward to CanCast. And of course, last but not least, I want to thank Sarah McGoldrick for reaching out to me. This is a show that's going up in the Clifford Arena, May 4th to the 5th. It's an outdoor show, but it also has a fishing theme. It has a hunting theme, cottage life theme. There's anything to do with the outdoors. This seems to be coming together as quite a show as well. And I want to say that some of these smaller venues might become more popular going forward. I'm not really sure, but as I said, just based on our show, I'm just overwhelmed. I got to be honest. I never expected it to blow up like it is, but it has done that and then some. And again, thank you. That's about all I can say. I know there's a whole bunch of links that Steve is probably sharing in the comments, but I want to get to Jim. So there's a few other things that I have to mention. I cannot do a CFN Live without mentioning Horwood Lake Lodge and, of course, our 6th annual CFN retreat. Really looking forward to getting up there this summer, as we do always. And if you need to know, there's only one cabin that sleeps 4 left. Okay, so make sure you reach out to Doris and Warren and get yourself booked in a bed. And if you don't, I hate to say it, but this is what you're going to be missing. As mentioned, that is Horwood Lake Lodge, and of course the 6th annual CFN retreat. So we're looking forward to folks getting up there. And of course, in September, we're going to be back up at Camp McIntosh for our 3rd annual OFC Nation retreat. Last year was just a blast. We had so much fun. And Andre and Tracy, I just want to say, if you guys are listening, your pamphlets, there was a buzz. A lot of people were I know about this. I heard about this from you guys. We gave out so many pamphlets at the Spring Fishing and Boat Show and, of course, the Ottawa show. There are some left still for our Made in Canada Tackle show that will be handing it out at the OFC Nation booth. But for all those who don't know anything about Camp McIntosh, you don't have to necessarily come up to our retreat. We'd love to see you there. But if you want to know a little bit more about the camp, have a look at this. So as mentioned, it is going to be our 3rd annual OFC Nation retreat, Camp McIntosh. Just to give you some details about both Camp McIntosh and Horwood Lake Lodge. First, Horwood, this is really important. Ward and Doris are going to be your hosts, our hosts. That is August 11th to the 17th. What is so amazing is that they've managed to keep the price the same. And with everything else going up in this world, I can't thank these two enough for allowing our community to enjoy a week-long event. It's going to cost $875 per person plus taxes. This will include somewhere for you to lay your head, all the food you could possibly want, not to mention the fish fries at the end of the day. Of course, a boat if you need it, and fuel and your bait. I don't know where you can go and do all that for that price. So again, thanks so much for Warren and Doris for getting that set up. And of course, at Camp McIntosh. Andre and Tracy, I can't mention it enough. You guys were on full display at both shows. There was lots of discussion about Camp McIntosh. I have a feeling you're going to get a lot of calls based on what I saw and what Steve saw at the Ottawa show, and Moose and Jeff and everybody else that was at the OFC Nation booth. But again, September 27th to the 29th is the third annual OFC Nation retreat. Cost is $205 per person per night. If you need a boat, if you don't need a boat, you're bringing your own boat. It's $155 per person per night, and of course that includes somewhere to lay your head, food, and there's not much you need to bring other than your gear and your BYOB. That's pretty much it. That's all I have. As I said, there's a million comments I'm sure that are being shared here, but there is absolutely lots going on. This is a feverish week, to say the least. Once it's over, we'll be able to take a breath. But until then, we're on full tilt, full throttle. The pedal is to the floor, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all you folks in Woodstock. In the meantime, we got Big Jim coming up next, right after a word from our sponsor. There he is, the one and only Big Jim McLaughlin.
They got to get me rested up.
I know. So I'm
going to get started on Tuesday for me, eh? So
I really want to get you to bed and get you rested, because, as I said, we got a long week ahead. I know you still got to unpack from the Ottawa show.
Yeah, I got all the stuff out of the cab and everything, and all sorted and put away. And then we had to run around this afternoon. I got back, and I got to back the truck up to the garage and get all the other boxes out of the back there. And I have to go through them and know what's in each box. Like I do a little inventory before I put them all away till the summer or till next year. Some of them,
Yeah.
So it's a good bit of time, but man, that was a wonderful weekend. It kills me to do it now. It's not like it used to be, but when you see all those smiling little kids there, and everything else, it's pretty cool. And I saw some smiling big kids too.
Yeah, there was a few of us in the stands. As I said, you did some great videos to capture sort of what was going on. And of course, Jim, everywhere you go, everybody knows you. But holy boats! Like you couldn't pack any more boats into this facility.
No,
it was.
The most of them are geared. It's not well. When you go to the big boat show in Toronto, there's a lot of other things there, Yeah. There's big cruisers and other things in here. Most of this stuff is like related to fishing and being out there, that kind of stuff. Because, you could drive through Lunds and, like G3s and all the other brands of boats. I mean, it's just nonstop. You can just drive through them forever out there. I mean, I drove down like that. You can't see all the way down the aisle there, but I drove straight down the aisle the whole way. And I think it was like 1 minute and 58 seconds. So it took me like 2 minutes with that little cart, full tilt.
Yeah,
tilt wasn't too fast, but it was, especially with me in it.
Yeah, but to your point, you can see sort of at the prelim of this video. I'll see if I can bring it up, but where you are looking down the aisle it's so true. It's incredible. It's just huge in my opinion.
Yep.
You do see down the aisle, you could barely make out the end of it, and it is quite something to say the least.
Well, that's why it's called the Ottawa Boat.
Yeah.
And sportsman or boat an outdoor show. It used to be sportsman show, and
there's what you're saying. I mean, it's just a quick snippet of what it looks like down that aisle. But needless to say, Jim, it was incredible, and there was nothing that was spared. It's great vendors, great people. Everybody felt welcome. It's a great event. I've only been there now twice. You've been doing this how many years?
Oh, I've been going. I've done the pond for I think it's 25 or 27 years.
Yeah.
And I was going there before with Shimano, and when I had the tackle shack and everything, I mean, it's just been a part of my life that most of the time it was held downtown at the football park there at Lansdowne Park.
Yeah.
And the whole park down there, the Aberdeen Pavilion used to be all fishing with the old building there. They call it Cattle Castle.
Yeah.
But that's where fishing used to be. And there was a point where that building was filled. I mean, every manufacturer was there, and it just goes to show you things have changed. I don't know if they've changed. You look at it and say to yourself, it might not be. I don't want to say they've changed for the worse, because maybe it's not. Maybe this is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just there's the landscape's different now.
Yep.
I think there's still more to come. Still more to come, because I was talking to another guy that goes to the big car show there. We were talking before we went on, and he said to me, he said, "Boy, he said it's not what it was, and it's not that it's outrageously priced. I mean, in Ottawa too, the parking was free. The International Center, the parking's free. So,
and that's not easy to do for these for these folks that are putting on these shows. Free parking. It sounds easy, but it's not.
Well, no, because they have to pay the venue.
Exactly.
It's not the show. Like people used to come and say, "Oh, talk to the big Jim. The show people are stupid. They're $12 for 15, $16 for parking." But a nice look at them and say, "Well, it's not them. Phone City Hall.
Yeah,
it's the town, the city, the people who own the venue that charge for the parking." So Scott and Moira go to the people at the park and say, "Hey, we'll give you this many shekels, and we don't have to charge for parking." And you go on the weekend there, it was wide open, freewheeling, no hold up getting in to pay, or somebody with a Visa card that doesn't work. It was just everything was really, really smooth, really smooth. And I like Saturday went too, because that's always like the day. Saturday seemed it never got that elbow to elbow, but it seemed to stretch out. It seemed kind of almost always busy.
Yeah.
As opposed to being a dead spot in the morning and then a dead spot at 2:00, 3:00, and so I think all in all, I think it's good. It's a success. I talked with a lot of people today who are very happy. They met the numbers that they wanted. There's you get over with the boat guys. It's a shame because there's only so many people are buying boats.
True enough.
You don't get you might have got 15 last year, or 12 or 10 or whatever, and you don't get them this year. Somebody else did, but then maybe next year you have 12, and that person's going, "Oh, what a terrible show! I only got 2." So it's back and forth. I just saw Mark LaBelle comment there from Weapons of Mass Destruction. His first time to the Ottawa show, and there he says it was a great show.
It was. That's awesome to see.
Great.
And we're lucky to have a lot of great people that stopped by. Of course, some of the notables that we had with our OFC Nation group, but. I love when
that good-looking guy there.
I know, holding down the fort. But this is a booth that we were lucky to have last year. It moved into another building because the show it grew, and it was cool that it did, because it put a lot of the fishing of us fishing folks in one arena. And
it put us back to where we used to be in Hall 4.
Yeah.
But
I will say this: the folks that did come by from our nation, from our community. Did so represented the colors. And Jim, was there anybody that stopped by that you wanted to mention that you haven't seen in a while? It was nice to reconnect.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I don't know whether you went by this. You heard the story about the log, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, so on Wednesday, Steve Barnett comes down. Steve is always there when he's not playing with ZZ Top. That's our joke. So, Steve has a big beard. He's the only guy I've ever seen when he puts on his name tag, he has to lift his beard up and put the tag under it and put his beard back down. But he's a great guy. Hey, he's a terror on the water too. He's won the Renegade Championship. He's won so many tournaments and big fish awards. It's nuts, eh? And he's been helping me for, I dare say, 20 years. And then when Tammy had her little incidents here, health stuff, I asked him, I said, hey, would your wife Jen be interested in coming to help? And you saw the way she is. Like, I'm vice president, she's president. I'm out. No vote. She just took control. I mean, she was doing things, and it was so funny. We were setting up on Wednesday, and Steve started putting up some stuff on the shelves and that, and he said, I may as well just leave it all here, because regardless of what I do, it will not be there when the show opens, you know? She'll be in there. And she came in the door, and she's moving all the stuff around, and everything was so cool. But so we've always had this big log, because this year you saw the way the kids' pond was, and normally the pond is double that size, and the seminar stage is kind of out in the aisle. So you saw the way the seminar stage was really nice this year, up against the backdrop, up against the wall. We took away the adult end of the pond because you could be there for an hour and nobody would come, you know?
Yeah.
It's just the kids. That's what it's all about. We moved the stage around. I got the idea last year watching it. You guys had 100 kids at the pond. I'm standing there introducing the seminar, and the adult end of the pond, Steve sitting in the chair, waiting for someone to come, you know? It was just nuts. So we did that, but it all worked out great. So anyway, we always had this log. It was a big old log. I don't know where it came from. We've had it for 20 plus years, maybe. And it had a handle on it. As you saw, there was a branch that stuck out the side, which made carrying this 40-pound piece of whatever kind of wood it was around very easy, and had a hole in it about this big. And it used to be the jackpot hole. You had to get the casting plug in the hole.
Right.
But my Lord, the number of snags, the number of times Steve had to don the boots in the middle of the show, go in and pick them out of it was nuts. So I left it on the table. I said, well, here, we don't need this year. The kids are shooting at the rings. We don't have to worry about that. And I says to him, geez, I knew a guy a long time ago, back when I first met Tammy. In fact, the guy that I was with when I met Tammy, they were best buddies. And he got into wood carving. And he's done some stuff. He was telling me he's got stuff that's on a credenza inside the front door of the French embassy, that he's done these beautiful, bowls with these funky looking pieces of wood and everything. He's done all kinds of stuff. Ended up coming up with a line of tools for doing this that he sells now, and all kinds of stuff. So anyways, I'm talking about it to Steve, and I said to him, he says, my old buddy Lionel, I said, that would be cool. I said, he could take that and turn it into a bowl. So Thursday morning, I don't know, 11:30, I look up, who's standing there? Lionel. He says, buddy, I thought about you yesterday. I saw the thing it was Friday morning. He says, I saw the thing on TV with you and at the casting pond with Melissa Lamb. And he said, I thought I'd come visit you. Like, that's almost like spooky.
Yeah.
It's almost like spooky. And anyway, when he left, Lionel, as you saw, he's getting old. And he didn't want to carry that piece of wood out with him, whatever. So we got him to come around the building. And I think it was you that ran it out, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I will say this, when he opened up the tailgate of his, I think it was a van that he drives, you could tell woodworking is very much a part of his life, his trade, his passion. Yep. There is wood all through the back of his, if he ever smoked, and I don't think he does, it's a good thing that none of the ambers, if they did, blew into the back. That place would go up in a heartbeat. But needless to say, you can tell. But it was pretty cool to see an old buddy like that. It was really cool. I must have had, I don't know, Scotty, I dare say 15 people I haven't seen in years. Probably had one old girlfriend come by. I thought we weren't supposed to talk about that. And I didn't recognize her. Yeah, well. And that was the thing. And she looks at me, she goes, you don't recognize me, do you? And so I'm assuming it's somebody that I know from my youth, when you were a lot younger. So I looked at her and I said, well,
if I wasn't this big, you wouldn't recognize me. Do you know how many years this has been? And she said, oh, you do recognize.
Oh, wow.
So I bluffed my way through it good.
You did. Yeah, you did.
Yep. I had a couple of kids come to me and tell me the same old thing, like you gave me my first fishing rod. They get out their phone and that no more pictures. They get out their phone and, here's the 5.5 pound bass that I caught last week or last year or whatever, and that kind of stuff. And that's really rewarding to me at this point in this whole thing.
Yeah.
To see that.
And it is for me too, when you see some of the kids and recognize the mothers and the fathers and say, you guys were here last year, and say, yeah, you remember me. And when you're able to do that, I'm terrible with names, Jim, and I always forget them.
I'm horrid.
I never forget a face. And there were a lot of kids there that I recognize, the parents as well. That just it was awesome. But what makes it all?
Let me tell you, John, I'm probably the worst or second worst person with names.
John, that's awesome. Well done.
You picked up on it?
100%. I see what you did there. I see what you did. But as I said, big shout out to Steve and Jen Barnett. Worked feverishly the whole weekend. Of course, our big buddy Steve.
Naomi,
you good for you. Good for you. As I said, it just makes the weekend, putting smiles on kids' faces, and of course, there is a lot of donations of toys that are provided to these kids. And is there anybody in particular you wanted to give shout outs to?
Well, you're like yourself and Steve brought down a bunch of stuff. It was awesome for that. Obviously, the shows gives me a small budget to work with. It, it isn't a pile. Steve and Jen bought a whole bunch of stuff with their own. Oh, look at that little pumpkin.
I know, right?
I look at that and that's it. I'm good. Like, it was all worth everything. It was worth the crappy bed in the hotel. It was, you know what I mean? To see these little kids. But I don't know. There was one of the guys came to me that was at the show there, and I recognize him from around Ottawa when I lived there. And he comes to me and he looks at me and he says, I love the way you're sitting over here. He said, just watching the whole thing. He says, it's like it's your kingdom. That's what he said to me. And I said, well, I said, I got to tell you something. I said, the people I have helping me here, I wouldn't be doing it anymore if it wasn't for the likes of you and Steve and Jen and everybody else that helped down there. Steve Rioch, the other Steve, came down.
Can I give a big shout out to young Sam? I mean, / Sean.
Isn't he wonderful?
Buddy, I'm telling you, that kid, I don't know what he's gonna do in life, but Sam is gonna do wondrous things. He is a kid, and I'll tell you this: I wish my daughter was the same age as him, because I'd introduce the two of them like that.
He's a good-looking boy. The girls like him. You can see all the young girls there. They're sort of looking at him, and whatever. So it's cool.
But him, Lewis, big help both Saturdays.
Yeah, Lewis.
Yeah.
Man, he's been there for a couple of years now. Him and I are really good buddies. He lives like 10 minutes away from me.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's a guy that I got to know. I sold him some jigs, and a few times we got together. Now we're like buddies. Just, he's a way younger than me. Like, we don't hang out drinking beer, but we're together and we talk on the phone all the time. He comes over, he brings Annabelle over, and Tammy takes her to the toy room, and so it makes Tammy happy and whatever else. And then Annabelle had to phone me at the show. I don't know whether you were there when I got the phone call.
Yes.
She calls me Mr. Big.
Mr. Big.
Mr. Big. Yeah. What are you doing today, Mr. Big?
Speaking of this, George feels for you. He says, Jim, I feel for you. I feel the same way when I see the newest Berkeley lure. I know I have seen it before, but I have forgotten the name of the company that made it.
Who's this guy?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I tell you, you have not lost your wit, my friend. You are still on the ball, and we're on the ball all week.
I'll tell you, 7:15 this morning, I woke up, and I didn't set the alarm, but I told myself, if you wake up, and I did. I slept horrible. I don't know why. My eyes open, just like Jocko says, motivation means nothing. I didn't want to go. It was discipline. My feet hit the floor. Sweatpants went on, the dirty T-shirt. On went the hoodie. Boom shakalaka. 35 minutes down the road to the gym. And I was the only person in the gym. So it's pretty bad on a Monday morning when the old fat guy's the first one in the door.
Good for you, buddy.
So I went in there and put myself through. I'm going to miss sleep tonight, though, because tomorrow morning I have Lacey.
Oh, boy.
She'll be hurting me.
Yeah. She'll be
Hopefully we
through
get
the
hopefully we get this sorted out a little bit more here with me.
I hope so too.
Like
And
it's,
especially sooner than later. Mike Howard's asking, Jim, are you coming down to the Woodstock show this
I'm
weekend?
coming down to preside.
I will say this: we are honored to have Big Jim there. Big Jim is going to be introducing all of the speakers. He's going to be the MC. He's going to do a little bit in between some of the presentations as well. He's going to do what Big Jim does best and entertain the crowd. Obviously, we're going to try and keep him in one spot so that he doesn't have to move around too much. But folks, when you see Big Jim, if he's not presenting, take a moment to go up, shake his hand, pat him on the back, and say, you know what, thanks.
And tell me your real name, not your name on Facebook. Like, I don't want to hear, like, Tiger with 2 polka dots is your what is it they say, handle or whatever.
Yeah.
Tell me your name so I know you, because I have so many people out there that I have people, once again, that I realized people that I'd said, hey, if you come to the show, I shouldn't talk to them for 10 minutes, and they didn't tell me who they were, and I see a picture of them with me, and here I am with a picture with them, and they never took the time to tell me. So tell me, I'm probably not going to remember, but
oh, you'll do just fine. I'm not the least bit worried, but we want to get you rested up, so we wanted to keep it short tonight. Jim, as always, on behalf of Steve and myself, thanks so much for doing what you do for us as well as for everyone else. And for those who helped out at the casting pond, showed up at the casting pond, said hello, tipped your hat, waved hi. We can't thank you enough. And those parents that bring your kids around are just as important, because
yes, sir.
I'll tell you, the days that it was slow, like the Thursday was a little slow with the number of kids that came through. The more kids, the more exciting it is. And when you're able to engage the parents as well, we're going to get more people fishing in this country.
Well, something I noticed, anybody that's watched us and the stuff, all the stuff I posted and put on this, try to figure out from all the pictures I posted and I thought of it last night sitting here. Almost every picture that I posted was a little girl.
That's awesome.
Because they were up there just beating at it, participating, like whatever. And that's just like, it just happens that way. They're the ones with the big smiles. They're having, boy, I don't know. There was more girls at that pond than there was boys.
And I was going to say that Steve and I talked about this on the way home. That was our biggest takeaway, was the assertiveness of the ladies. They were all in, right? They grabbed the rod and reel and they went at it. They listened to instruction. No offense to the lads, but they came up, a lot of them, beating their chest. Oh, I know how to do it. And then of course you see it and it's like, I thought you said you knew how to do this.
There was a couple of times I had to yell to Salmon, I think once to you too, about no overhand.
Overhand, yes,
the
absolutely.
Seminars are going on at the far end and the kids are whistling the casting plug into this.
Well, that was just because Lawrence was on. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, Lawrence.
No. But yeah, it was great to see Lawrence and his family there as well. It was a great family group, and needless to say, I can't mention enough how welcoming that group is. Looking forward to getting back there again next year, my friend.
Well, Scotty, this weekend I'm really looking forward to it because it's an unknown. It's definitely, I think it's a success from the word go. As soon as you came up with the idea, it was one of those things where, well, geez, how could that not work? Because it's never been done before.
No, and
it's not just another tackle swap,
No,
Jim, they seem to last a few years in an area, and everybody gets all the stuff out of their garage and basement, sells it or do whatever they do with it, and then they sort of go like this. That's not going to be like this, because you got all the guys that are flogging away making plastic worms in their basement or tying worm harnesses and everything else out there. I think it'll be really, really cool. Hey, I got confused there. See, I am old. I saw Jim McLaughlin. I thought, how the hell did I comment? I don't have to. We'll be okay. Thanks a lot.
No kidding.
Hey, I meant to mention this last week, and I don't. This, Vic's not a sponsor of mine or anything, but this stuff here, Pro Water.
Yeah.
Seeing this stuff out there. One of the things Rocky and I use, probably. Rocky won more than I did. Rocky probably won 350, maybe $400,000. I won about just under three and a half in tournaments in Canada in a 10-year span. So it's pretty cool when you can average, like $35,000 a year, plus you got sponsors. So it's, we're few of the couple that ever made money at it, eh?
Yeah.
But he came to me with this, and it's a paddle tail. And probably half our money came on paddle tail worms.
Interesting.
That's something that we used to use, that and the cry and the colors. And he's got a little, see the little lip on the tail there? Adds a little more action, eh? On that kind of thing. And see the little ring here that's on it?
Yeah.
That's so you can expose, keep the hook out, and it keeps the weed from getting on it.
Oh.
And I've never seen this. This is not, like, he brought this to me and I looked at it and went,
wow.
I don't believe this. It's just something different, eh? And like I say, he doesn't pay me. I don't work with him, nothing. He's a guy plugging away, making plastic worms, but you don't want to try to get this bag, Tommy. I'll have to give these a go. I think it's perfect size too.
Well, you keep going to the gym, Jim. I'm not going to be fighting you for it. I can assure you that, my friend.
No, you wouldn't have any trouble getting me on the ground. I'll tell you that. The bottom part gives out quick.
Jim, as always, dude, I can't thank you enough. You're a gem to be around. You mean so much to this community, this industry, and you saw it on full display in Ottawa. You were the show.
When this whole thing started with the CFN, and you came to me and I talked to you, and then Bob from Toronto asked me, hey, said, go on once in a while with Scotty. I had no idea it's going to turn into doing something every week, doing the fireside chats, all this stuff and everything else. It's because it's good for the industry. And I've always been like that. I've never been a person, that's why I go on and I comment when, other people, they're on there fighting over who makes the best ball head jig. Well, they all bought the mold from Do It. So you've heard me say this.
Yeah.
It's no different, but somebody ties jigs. I go on, I tell them, hey, that's looking really nice. That's looking really good. I don't go on and say, oh, you should have done this or you didn't do that. You know what I mean? Mine are better. Everybody needs to, when everybody's happy and everything's going around good, it just works better.
Absolutely, dude.
It works better.
Rest up, get yourself stretched out, and we're going to see you in Woodstock on Sunday, my friend.
I'll be out the door at 7:00 tomorrow morning, so don't get in my way.
All right, can't wait. You
take
care.
Good, kiddies. And stay. Remember, I showed you today. I sent you another thing. People going through the ice. And
I know.
Like
Jay and I are going to talk about that because the weather is changing. Mother Nature is teasing us with open water, so there's lots to discuss. We'll get to that. But Jim, we have to bid you farewell, and you have yourself a great week.
Be good, kiddies.
All the best. Lawrence Gunther, right after a word from our sponsor.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
Lawrence Gunther, the Bluefish Canada host. The hostess with the mostest.
I don't know about that.
Well, you had yourself a great show, I'll tell you. There was a lot of people that stopped by your booth on the weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we always do pretty good. Like, I always tell my volunteers, don't try to get anyone to stop before 1:00, noon kind of thing. The people that show up for the early bird worm kind of people, they're looking for deals, right? They're not looking around to see what they can do for the sport at that moment. They're looking for deals and they don't want to be interrupted and say, hey, come on, read my brochure and about conservation. No, they don't want to lose out on a smoking hot deal. So let them do their shopping. And once they've satisfied that they've bought everything they wanted to buy and they've seen everything that they wanted to see in terms of shopping wise, then they do another loop around and they open up their eyes and their mind and say, really, what's going on out there? And that's what these shows do, right? They have this sort of double sort of service side to them.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of folks did come up to us and asked about Bluefish. Even some of the people that came to the casting pond, some of the parents were, that's a really cool logo. What is Bluefish Canada? So I was doing a bit of explaining what it is that you are about. And one thing that I did point them in the right direction of is, of course, this podcast, as well as many others that you have in a vast library available on Bluefish Radio. You can go to Alexa and just say, what, Lawrence? And you can get the entire inventory.
Play the Bluefish Radio Show, the Bluefish Radio Show. And it'll come up on Apple, Google, Spotify, you name it.
That's awesome, dude. So jumping right ahead, one thing I did want to mention that you and I did talk about to a certain degree. I saw the police at Lawrence's booth. Yes.
So I'm just out with my communications director. He said, Lawrence, come look at this dock system, because we're looking for a dock system for the Bluefish Exploration Center. So we go off and talk to the salespeople there, come back, and he goes, oh, there's a cop in front of your booth. So we walk into my booth, and there's my son. He's got my Braille slate and stylus out, and he's doing my autograph card for this police officer. And I'm going, he's just turning 16, and he's a bit of a rebel. And I said to the police officer, so I said, you may want to check that before you show anybody it. God only knows when he's brailing on that card, right?
Hilarious stuff. And as good as the attendance was on the Saturday and Sunday, it was a little light on the Thursday and Friday. Normal, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it is becoming a bit of a trend. And I don't want to say, I don't want to dwell on the negative aspects of it, but, is this a little bit of the canary in the coal mine? Like, are we starting to see the effects of what's going on around us? Our interest rates, the state of the world, the state of the economy, the uncertainty when it comes to our political climate, our those who are in politics that are running this country. Like, with that trend being a downward swing right now when it comes to attendance, it's certainly not the host of the show's fault for that decrease. There is something that can be taken away. What's your biggest takeaway from that, Lawrence? Is there something that you can provide us that might explain this downward trend?
It's like, sport fishing, the marine sectors, right? These are sectors that sort of have peak and troughs. The peak we experienced during COVID, and when the economy turns down and people get worried about their accounts, about their credit cards, about their mortgages, about interest rates, about their jobs, discretionary spending, i.e. sports stuff and boats and things like that, the nice to have stuff, not your food and haircut kind of thing, bread on the table, that sort of people start to look at that twice, right? So normally, like the Ottawa, that show has been a boat show from the beginning. Since I started exhibiting there 20 years ago, it was a boat show with some fishing and outdoor stuff tossed in, and it still is primarily a boat show. It's just because of the time of year. It's the fourth largest market in Canada. We're surrounded by water here, so it seems like a logical place to have a boat show. And but when you have interest rates that are 6, 7, 8, 9% on a 240-month mortgage, you could, I don't do the math, but it could come out to you're paying twice as much for the boat as what the sticker says, right? So people start to think twice. And I always ask people what brings you to the show when they come by, and I do my little spiel. What brings you to the show? Because they have questions, they have, they're shopping. Well, interesting to find out. It's my little survey. And there was not many who said they were looking at boats. They were looking at boats, but not necessarily to buy a boat. And when they did see the prices of boats, because they've gone up maybe 25% in the last 3 years in price, which is a lot, but they have gone up that much. And people are thinking, wow, that's boats a lot more expensive than I thought it would be. And, what am I going to get for my used boat now? And do I really want to take on that sort of, 20-year boat loan at the high interest rate? And it just was a tough year for boat sales. So there's a lot of inventory. And I told people, I said, the sticker price, you could really negotiate that. No one was, putting up 2-for-1 sale signs or 50% off signs and nothing like that. But I'll tell you, there's deals to be had on this type of discretionary type spending items for sure.
And it's tough, for the vendors. They're shouldering this as a cooperative effort. I like you. I love these shows because of what it represents. It's the coming together. It's like a sorority / frat party where we're all able to get together for that weekend, that 4-day, 3-day, 2-day, whatever, where we get to see one another, get, to chew the fat and exchange stories and perhaps maybe set things up for the season. I'm dying to get down and fish with Lisa Goodyear, who was one of the many awesome presenters. Greg Emile is someone that I would love to get out on the water with, just to rub some of his knowledge off. But you see that there's all facets that come to the show, that are brought to the show to engage, the audience. And it's no fault of those who are hosting these shows. It's just, it seems to become a bit of a climate. And when we were at the Spring Fishing and Boat Show at the industry breakfast, I will not forget the speech that Richard gentleman stood up and started talking about. And I'll tell you could hear a pin drop. But one stat that he shared, which I think is something that might be having catastrophic effects to the economy, is more than 50% of Canadians are going to be renegotiating their mortgages in less than 16 months.
Mm-hmm.
That is a scary stat. And baby boomers
will all be in 65 within the next 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Like all baby boomers will be 65 plus. And we're the ones that have been carrying, the driving force of the marketplace. But, try to sell a 65-year-old plus person a boat at that point in their life, right? They bought their end-of-life boat already. They bought their last boat already, so it's going to get tough for sure. It's going to get tough.
100%. And again, I can't offer any suggestions on what these folks that run these shows can do. I don't have the answer. I don't know. And I feel horrible that we are starting to see a bit of a trend. Listen, we appreciate those who put on these shows beyond all recognition. We can't thank them enough for the work that goes into putting these on. I'm learning this firsthand with my good friend Brad with the show that we're doing. But, I think of that Spring Fishing and Boat Show, and I think of the Ottawa show, the work that goes into setting up, the detail that is, and the attention to detail that is, you see, the level of that is incredible. So, I don't know. I just, at the end of the day, look at it, folks, as an investment in the industry. Don't look at it as I'm paying to get into a show. If these shows, for whatever reason, were to start to dwindle and disappear, what's next? Where does it end?
And the other thing is, don't criticize it because you see something for sale that's not directly related to the outdoors, right? I mean, you've got a huge venue. You've got an organization that's trying to turn a profit, by having enough exhibitors there to turn a profit. And if you can't fill it all up with tackle, dealers, you're going to have other people who want to touch that marketplace, that touch those customers with their offerings, whether it's, knives or, whatever, right? Everyone's entitled to make a living, and it's not their fault that there's not enough tackle dealers to fill every booth, every 10 by 10 booth. Mm-hmm. So let them sell, their places. And in exchange, when they have a full show, like we had a pretty full show, right, of exhibitors, then they can bring in the entertainment. Like we had Saturday, we had the Falcons. And by the way, I thought that was, my kids were, or one of my volunteers was telling me about that Falcon when it broke its lead, right? It was flying around and it snapped the lead from the trainer and it flew straight at Big Jim. It actually crawled under his table. Big Jim, you've never seen a guy with injuries move so fast.
So Jason, he said video or it didn't happen. So there you go. There's a firsthand account of it actually happened, because Steve Shaw mentioned it here in the comments. There was a few animals that ran around. There was another bird that I believe someone was making a joke that the snake would let go. And of course, I'm not a big fan of snakes.
You were running one from the snake.
They were throwing, that plastic lizard that we threw in the pond that grew to like 3 feet long. They threw that on my shoulder and I lost it was, we had a lot of fun, but needless to say, there was a lot that helped us have fun. And those folks that brought in those rescue animals, they were all rescues, I believe, all those animals.
Yeah, they're ones that couldn't be put back in nature because they had health issues, right? They were missing parts, or just they were missing something that wouldn't mean their demise as soon as they would be returned to nature. So they were kept.
Yeah, it was quite something. But I'll tell you,
yeah.
when that came on, that almost became the highlight of the weekend. Because
it was amazing. It was amazing. That bird did not seem that happy, I'll tell you, but it was interesting. And this little skunk, that 9-year-old skunk with the health issue, some sort of thyroid problem or something, but then it was just a cute little skunk, they were holding it. It's this kind of thing, right? When we can get a full show and, we respect all the exhibitors and, it's entertaining, right? So look, face it, people who are baby boomers aren't going to buy a lot of tackle. They got everything they need. They might buy one more boat, kind of thing. Yeah. Or a little discretionary spending, things under 20 kind of stuff. I never thought of that. I'll give you a little help, throw you a little support. I'll buy a few of your lures, kind of thing. But getting those young people to come with their families, right? Those are the people that don't commit to buying stuff. They're the ones that rent, right? They just go and try this and try that. So getting them to come out and consider making a purchase and a lifestyle purchase where they're going to say, hey, I'm going to be an outdoors person. Right? That's the challenge these days with everyone moving to the cities, with industry in the small towns, sawmills and mines and things and oil fields closing more and more, and young people moving to the city for education and not moving back to the country. Getting outdoors people, where are the outdoors people coming from, right? Who are the next generation outdoors people? And that's if we lose the outdoors people, if we lose those people going into the outdoors and keep an eye on things and valuing that connection with nature, if we lose that, then nature's up for grabs and who knows what's going to happen to it in terms of economic exploitation, right? If you don't care about something, there's a good chance it's going to be taken advantage of. So, it's up to all of us to get those young people involved, those grandchildren, those nieces and nephews, and just get them and nurture that love of the outdoors. And that's why the Bluefish Exploration Center, we do get ready for fishing. We've been doing kids stuff with partners for a long time and working in partnerships and, dry land training, get ready for fishing, and all summer with programs like, Ottawa Fish School, that we have 8 weeks of Ottawa Fish School this year. Last year we had 6. This year we have 8. We went from 16 kids a week to 18 kids a week. That 8-week program sold out in 11 minutes. It's the most popular program that the community center puts on. They put on 50 summer programs for kids, and the Ottawa Fish School is the most popular.
That is so awesome. And of course, I think a lot of it may be it's kind of a I want to say it's like pushing the reset button for a lot of us. And when I say that, Joe Vitani's comment, I think brings everything to light. It brings us all back down to reality where, back 10 years ago when he bought his Lund Tai, he bought it for $56,000. It was expensive at $56,000. Then I couldn't imagine paying for the same boat, the $90,000 to $100,000. Not to mention, of course, the luxury tax on top of that. That was explained to us too when it comes to purchasing an aluminum boat. If you buy it at today's price, when it is put together and delivered to you, you then have to pay the difference if the price of aluminum goes up. There's a lot of things that a lot of people don't know when it comes to purchasing a boat. And I hate to mention it because it's going to deter people from maybe wanting to buy boats, and then it's just going to drive the used market to a level where that might become unsustainable and maybe out of reach for some. But needless to say, Joe, thanks for that comment, because again, that pretty much sums up what's going on. And I think it's really important to maybe for all of us to recognize that and say, maybe it's about getting back to basics. Because if there's one thing that I heard over and over and over again from parents, they would explain that when their child was on the dock and they're catching little fish, they're engaged. They'll be on the dock for hours. But the minute they take them out on the boat, it's a different experience, right? You're not guaranteed fish because, let's face it, dock fishing in some ways is somewhat more productive as a kid than being out in the boat. You don't have the patience necessarily as adults do. So it's hard to keep those kids engaged. So, maybe It's so simple. Maybe we just take them to docks and introduce them to fishing as opposed to having to buy the latest package.
We got to do that for sure, right? There's no doubt about it. You start small and you work your way up. You don't want to overwhelm children with, open up all your tackle boxes and, just say, okay, this is what you got to learn. It's just going to overwhelm them. Maybe they'll get interested, but if there's a time for that, right? There's a time where you say, okay, now let's try this, master that. Let's try this now. And you just expand their knowledge. But the boat thing, and Joe's comment about, the 57,000 Luntai, look, I know a lot of guys, from all the fish clubs I'm involved with, when they're 70, 75 years old and they sell their boat because they're retiring, they just don't want to deal with it anymore. And they're selling their 20-year-old boat and they've maintained it really well. They're selling it for the price they paid for it 20 years ago.
Yep.
And if you buy a good boat, and you take care of your boat and you don't beat the crap out of it, it's not all just completely dock rashed and dented and beat up. And, you can sell it for what you paid for it in 20 years from now. Yeah, it's going to go down in the first 5 years. Yeah. Then it's going to not go down so much. Then it's going to hold its value. And at some point, it's going to go back up in value just because the price of replacing that same boat is so much higher, right? So, think of it as an investment, and there's not much you can say as an investment. Cars, 20-year-old cars, you're good luck to you if you can keep a car for 20 years and it's not a rusty piece of junk. But a boat, if you treat it well, it can be worth good money in 20 years. It can be worth what you paid for it in 20 years. So
Adrian just put up, I purchased my 16-foot Misty River with a 20 horsepower in 1991 with a trailer. You paid $5,200. I can guarantee you, Adrian, that you could sell it for that and perhaps even more in today's prices and today's market. So, 100%. Bang on.
For sure. And, and as far as getting kids involved, just get them away from the city. That's why we're doing the Bluefish Exploration Center. We got 7 acres, 1,300 feet of shoreline. We've got a cabin, fully equipped cabin that sleeps 8 and fully accessible washrooms and wheelchair ramps. We got wheelchair accessible docks. We've got other sleeping cabins, some Amish sheds that are going in. We're going to have 8 researchers there. We're going to have young people there with their families and their groups, following those researchers, learning about the environment, just nerding out on the environment, which is what kids want, right? Yeah, they want to be in nature and they want to have those dark skies at night and the silence and the smell of nature and the chance to forage and fish and all of that. But they also want to understand it, right? And know that there's things they can do and what's changing, what's not. How do you identify all that stuff? Yeah, it's important that we teach them that, that not just how to catch fish, but the whole stewardship side of things too.
100%. I know it was a busy weekend, so I'm going to ask, but I'm not going to assume that you have some bullet items or some new
three things.
We got time. You run.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of shows, and this one didn't get mentioned, I don't think, is the Muskie Odyssey on April 13th. It's back again, right? And it was huge. The Muskie Odyssey, Muskie Odyssey, whatever you want to call it, is a huge crowd pleaser. This year it's going to be 2 days. First time ever, it's going to be 2 days. And, people line up at 2, 3 in the morning to get into this show because of the baits. Just because of you got all these local musky bait makers, they make a handful of baits every year. They sell 1 per customer because they don't want some guy buying 6 of them and then walking out the door and putting them on Facebook for, doubling the price. So, there's limited product. It's cool product. It's great people. If you're into the musky world, it's the Delta Toronto Airport Hotel Conference Center, Delta Toronto, April 13th. So keep that in mind.
Great. Thanks for mentioning that. I appreciate that, Lawrence.
So here's more on the old Atlantic salmon striped bass controversy in the Miramichi. So the Atlantic Salmon Federation, never to be outdone. They've got outdone on the poisoning the smallmouth bass in the Miramichi River and asking for higher commercial fishing on the striped bass. They say that for the last 2 years, when 500 striped bass show up in the Miramichi estuary, to spawn in the fall, and the salmon smolts are coming down from the Miramichi River and into the estuary to sort of, acclimatize to that brackish salt water. They put little radio transmitters on a whole bunch of smolts, and only 5% of the Atlantic salmon smolts made it out of the estuaries and made it through past those 500,000 striped bass. So the war cry is out again: kill the striped bass, or knock them back. It's, they're eating our salmon. This war. I've been following this battle for years. It's not over yet. This battle between the salmon people and the striped bass people and the smallmouth bass people, it's still raring. It's still going on.
And I don't know how it's going to end, but needless to say, what is at stake, of course, is the fish. And I mean, I'm all about maintenance. I'm all about making sure that we're doing good management practices when it comes to protecting fish. But there's such a struggle out there. I don't know how you fix that. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Oh yeah, it nature will sort its way out. It'll sort itself out. Look, the striped bass have been there. Maybe the smallmouth are newcomers, and maybe the Atlantic salmon seem to be moving north anyways because of the warming ocean waters. So maybe that has something to do with it as well. I am not counting out the Atlantic salmon, and I'm not saying we shouldn't do more to protect them, like removing dams. That would be a great thing for sure. But when it comes to dumping poison into rivers and killing everything, all the aquatic life just to save one species, I don't know. That seems pretty heavy-handed, and
it seems drastic.
Yeah,
it seems a little drastic for me too. No, absolutely. We got time for one more, Lawrence.
All right. So here, Manitoba, some First Nations communities in Manitoba just worked out a deal with the Manitoba government. First time ever, an Indigenous-led, conserved and protected area, 50,000 square kilometers in the Seal River area. I think that's up north, right? Up north, maybe Hudson's Bay, sort of up that way. So 50,000 square miles. And this is the first ever Indigenous conserved and protected area in Manitoba. But you can count on seeing more of these. They're happening on the West Coast. They're happening in the Arctic. And we're going to see more of these types of conserved and protected areas that are Indigenous led, or they've been pushing for these. They're saying, look, we don't, you can have your marine protection areas, but we don't want those. We're going to take care of it ourselves. So there's this, it's a bit of a horse race, right? Who gets to do the protection and set up the management schemes and the rules that people have to play by? Is it going to be the Indigenous, or is it going to be, the Parks Canada and DFO and so on? So there's, everyone's racing to protect water and land and ocean. It's the sorting out the rules comes later, and that's the part that's we have to be concerned with. What does that mean for angler access? Let's just let's stay involved with this. I read something that was a little upsetting in around this. It was a consultation paper, and it said from a federal perspective that coastal communities, local communities, are not a federal jurisdiction, like small towns along the coast of rivers and lakes, and they're provincial jurisdiction. Okay. Indigenous First Nations communities are federal jurisdiction, and fisheries are federal jurisdiction, and so they say they don't have they don't have a reason to negotiate or take into consideration local community needs.
Okay,
and that concerns me.
Seems problematic. That I don't like. That's extremely problematic because that's a lot of gray area, in my opinion.
Yeah, that I think needs to be corrected. I think we need to say, hey, what about these other communities, right? What about these other communities? They exist. They're fishing communities. They're coastal communities. They exist. They're there. There's people that depend on access. They have a history of using the water, the land. Surely. You can't just ignore them and pretend they're not there and not have them part of the process.
No, 100%.
One more.
Yeah, one more. Go ahead.
Okay, so here's some good news. So the whole idea of offshore wind production, right?
Yeah.
We hear a lot of noise from fishing organizations that say these things are a huge problem when it comes to fishing, only because they build them in nearshore areas where commercial fishers go and drag their nets and set their lobster traps and do all that sort of stuff. And that sort of is a problem when you have a whole bunch of artificial reefs being established and floating windmills being installed or other windmills. It gets in the way of that kind of fishing. But from a recreational fishing perspective, there's people coming out now that's saying that these are going to be a real bonus, because you are talking about current breaks. You're talking about artificial reefs that are created by these windmill structures. And it's going to really improve the fishing in terms of recreational. With us, with our more nimble boats and our fishing equipment, we are going to benefit from this.
Couldn't agree more. Some of the most interesting videos that I see on a regular basis are when they're fishing rigs down in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
The species of fish that are caught, the amount of fish that are attracted by these rigs. Yes, there's that obvious inherent downside to oil rigging, but that's a whole nother topic that I don't even want to discuss. But yes, when you're creating structure like that, there is a benefit, and recreational anglers who fish those rigs will tell you that whether it's a sunken ship or it's a rig, fish are attracted to structure. Enough said.
Yep. Enough said, buddy. So let's not poo-poo offshore wind production. Let's not get on that board. Thanks for having me, buddy. Thanks for
Barnucz, as always, dude. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for giving us some things to think about, and of course for all you do, my friend. This show's for you.
It's an honor to be on it. It's been 4 years. 4 years.
I know. Incredible. Yeah. 4 more years to come, and many, many more, dude. You have yourself a great week, and thanks again for your entire family. Lily and that beautiful wife of yours for being such hosts. We were in your back door, and again, we felt like we were at home.
Oh man, everyone loves you. My family loves you guys. Scotty, you're a prince in all their eyes and minds. And we wish you all the luck with Sunday. I won't be able to make it down there. It's a whole day's drive there, another day's drive back, and there's no way I can get a volunteer to put in that kind of 3-day road trip like that. So
totally understand. And as I said, we wanted to make sure that you felt welcome, as we've always felt welcome with you. So, my friend, one of these days we will get you down, or perhaps the show will go on the road and we'll come see you.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it'll get done.
Yeah.
Right on, Lawrence. Have yourself a great week. Thanks again, my friend. Jason Barnucz is coming up right after a word from his sponsor. Take care, Lawrence.
The Finisher is one of the most unique baits I've ever seen.
This bait is designed to fish for forward-facing sonar, and you work it with quick, snappy strokes of the rod tip on the semi-slack line to give it a nice side-to-side action.
The lateral movement is insane.
It may go right twice, then left, then up, then down. I mean, it's all over the place.
Not only can you cast it out in front of the boat and fish it back towards you, you can also fish it vertically, so it allows you to change on the fly.
The thing that I really like about this bait is some of these fish are suspended. We might be in 30 to 35 feet of water. These fish might be 10 feet off the bottom. And this thing sinks a little bit slower than your typical real heavy glide baits. But what it allows you to do is keep the bait above those suspended fish.
You see a fish on your sonar and it might be out there 80, 90, 100 feet. This thing casts like a little bullet.
It also gets down to the fish very fast because it tends to tilt nose down and it sinks.
I can keep it down there in the strike zone and work it side to side, super aggressive. Man, it generates a bunch of bites.
It really is amazing at getting fish to react that you would not catch otherwise.
Enough said, Jay. I couldn't have said it better myself. And I want to say we were keeping up to date with what was going on in Toledo Bend. And a big shout out to Cooper and I believe Chris Johnson, who cracked the top 10. It looked very, very promising. And I'll tell you, they came a long way to get into that top 10. Is it possible that Cooper was using that bait because I was seeing that action on his rod a lot, and I'm not 100% sure what he was doing, but when I see that video, I immediately thought of that.
Yeah. So from what I gathered from watching that event, I'm going to be totally honest with you, Scotty. I think the forward-facing sonar, it's a bit of a tough pill to swallow as a viewer of the sport. I love the sport. I'm not going to not watch it. And I laughed at myself because I'm complaining to Heather and the family about here. All I'm doing is watching TV, but I'm watching TV, watching them watch TV. Like I'm no better than them, right? But I'm the one who wants to watch. I want to watch a buzzbait, rolling off a stump and a bass jumping on it. I want to watch a popper. I just want to watch some of the skill of casting. And I'm not saying to get these accurate casts with forward-facing sonar, to work a bait. If anyone who's done any ice fishing knows, you have to get the right cadence to get that strike. And I think that's what forward-facing sonar is. But as a spectator sport, it's not very exciting. But when you're catching 6, 7, 8 pound bass or 9 pound bass in a Texas reservoir, that is pretty awesome. So, what Cooper was doing is a lot of the anglers were doing this. They're literally looking around for fish. And so the forward-facing, for those that don't know, forward-facing sonar, the beam is very narrow and you have to focus it. And so when you find your fish, and at times you actually saw Cooper, like he had his rod up over his shoulders, like kind of chilling and like looking around. He just like I'm in my desk chair right now, like literally just, oh, there's one. Then he'll just take it down and he'll cast over to it. And then not only it's not just casting to the fish though, you have to entice the fish. And this is kind of what we don't see on that broadcast, is just like you still have to, now a lot of the anglers used like you'll hear the sort of a joke about hanging a minnow, right? So you have a jig head and a minnow imitating bait. But Cooper and others were using a jerk bait. They were using, there was a couple guys who did well, not in the top 10, but in the top 20, using a jig, using a flipping jig and basically a football jig and casting it out and using forward-facing sonar to track that jig down. And so, but we don't see a lot of those skills the way we're watching it. So that's my only little disappointment. But Coop, man, did he rally on day 2? And that's what's cool too, is don't just think forward-facing sonar is the winning key to that tournament, because there was a bunch of, and we're going to call the term, I guess the term now is scopers. There was a bunch of scopers on day 1 who, because of the weather change, they did really well on day 1 and they really did poorly on day 2. And I know this for a fact because in the fantasy fishing, I can't get enough fishing, right? So I'm in fantasy fishing on Bass Elites. Of course, who else is in fantasy fishing? My son. So Trevor was ahead of me on day 1 and liked to just rub it in the wound on Dad. I beat you by 100 points. And then a bunch of my anglers rallied on day 2 and a bunch of his anglers fell off on day 2. And in a 4-day tournament, so much can happen. And I ended up doing pretty good on my picks. Just one event though, but it's all bragging rights to me. But why is that? When over half the field, 3/4 the field is using forward-facing sonar, and it's just like any other technique. The fish can change their moods, and you still got to get them to bite. You can find fish, but you got to get them to bite. And I think the ones who did well, like Cooper and Chris and Koyo, Patrick Walters, who did really bad on day 1. He is really good at this technique. And he was my guy. I picked him, and I'm like, come on, Patrick Walters. And then he rallied, and he almost won the thing. So pretty awesome event if you appreciate what they're doing with forward-facing sonar. But there is some I read a comment that the spinning rod market is going to be cornered by bass anglers in the near future. So never thought you'd hear that, Scotty? Spinning rod?
No, you know what? I actually taken back by that. Really interesting. Well, I have to say, I totally understand why they like them. I've fished spinning reels all my life, and I totally understand why these folks are starting to come over to the dark side, if you will, and get away from the bait casters. But you talk about weather, Jay, and I think that's a great topic for us to discuss. Of course, we're starting to see weather trends that would dictate that perhaps spring's right around the corner. And you had mentioned that there was something that happened today or perhaps on the weekend that was posted today that we need to talk about and stress again about the importance of, especially now, there's no safe ice, guys.
No, and let's talk about just weather in general for a minute. Like, so I've been having a lot of folks reaching out to me about, when is it safe to get out? And I put this here in the comments, and I want people to read this. If you're thinking about being on the water, different than river fishing, but even then it's good to know. The 120 rule. So the 120 rule is this. You take the outside temperature, you take the water temperature. If you're under 120, so let's say the water temperature is 45 and the air temperature is 60, you're only at 105. That means you got to take precautions. That's how this rule has been developed. You'll hear this rule, the 120 rule, mentioned a lot when it comes to kayakers, especially in small watercraft. But I saw kayakers out on the weekend, and I'm like, oh, come on. Like, and yeah, it's exciting to be out on the water. Like I got pictures sent to me today of guys out in boats on Quinny catching walleye. They're catching browns off of like the Niagara shore on Lake Ontario now. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. But let's be sensible out there. We have to be really sensible because we got to worry about others. I had folks reach out to me about floater suits and survival suits and things like that. And I made a comment that, and I think it might have been taken the wrong way. And I have several people reach out to me. Just because you're wearing a floater suit doesn't mean that you're going to survive. It prolongs your life if you fall in, but at the end of the day, instead of succumbing in minutes, you might succumb in a few minutes. You might succumb in 30 minutes. Someone still has to know where you are, and you better have a plan because you will not last in the water just because you're wearing a survival suit, even an immersion suit. But now we're talking, Scotty, survival suit, $500, immersion suits, like thousands of dollars. Just wait. We're getting there. Spring's coming. I think we're going to have these. We're at the point where we're not going to have any more false springs. I think we're going to have false winters now because it's just we're at this point where we're turning that corner, and people are keen to get out, and I am too. But we'll get there. We're going to get there soon.
100%, and it's a great message that, and thanks for offering that too, because I'm sure there's a lot of folks that don't know about the 120 rule. If you don't know and you want more of an explanation, please reach out to Jay as he will give it to you. But
yeah,
even the ice fishing, it might still be okay in certain areas. Again, I can't stress it enough. Speak to an outfitter. Yeah, contact an outfitter. If an outfitter is telling you it's not safe, trust me, it's not safe, and they're on it every single day, so they're going to know. I would like to say that it's probably going to be the end of hard water season based on what I've seen with the temperature this week and the incoming rain. Pay heed to that. You know what? I don't want any heroes. These fish are going to be there, whether there's ice over them or it's 50, 60 degrees. We just want to see you come back home.
Agreed. And I think this time of year, you really need to jump on using an outfitter, and if that means hiring them to take you out safely, they're checking that ice every day. They don't want to lose their insurance. They don't want to have a bad reputation. The good ones that do care. And there's some great ones that are part of the CFN community. Some of them we've had on the show in the past.
Yeah.
So reach out to them, talk to them. But from what I'm hearing the last couple of days, a lot of them are like, this is it. And I don't think there's a few of them that are going to probably pull out by the end of the weekend. And, geez, dude, we made pretty much March this year. That's actually impressive for Southern Ontario ice. What's George saying? Real outlier. Yep.
And Lake Nipissing for reservations being canceled due to ice conditions. Look how far Nipissing is compared to Rice Lake and some of these other lakes. Like if it's this bad in Nipissing, it's questionable anywhere else. So.
Well, and I think what's really scary, Scotty, is that again on social media, you get these arguments and the arguments come from that doesn't fit my agenda, right? So there's people who are going out and they're finding that, okay, yeah, I'm out here and I'm on 8 inches of ice. I've seen the shots of that ice. It is punky, full of air bubbles. It is not good ice at all. And everything I've seen. Now, if you're on foot, maybe that's okay. But I can remember fishing off of Willow Beach one March a couple years ago with Trevor. And I think we were there with Alicia and TJ. And I wasn't scared that day, but it was a beautiful day, dude. Like we were out there, like the floater, the top of the floater seat was tied around the waist. The t-shirt was out. The guns were out in March, right? And, flexing those big 14-inch perch we were catching that day. The fishing wasn't great. We did have a good time, though. But I really felt the ice was literally melting out from under us as we were walking in. Like it was honeycombing all around us. There was old holes. That I wasn't scared that day, but I'm pretty sure I spoke to Dave Chong and Will Wagman, who we ran into out there that day, and I'm pretty sure that ice was gone within the week. Gone, like wide open water. Like it once it starts to break, once it starts to weaken, a little bit of wind, and it's gone. So time to check out. But what's great though, and I shared a link in the chat, is I mentioned this a few minutes ago, like all the great other things we can do out there now. I want to give a shout out to Mark Penner at Grimsby Tackle. Mark's been putting out some great seminars. He's giving a seminar at the Legion in Grimsby on March 8th for if you want to learn how to troll Lake Ontario, and I'm not a troller, so you want to go out and catch some spring browns or spring Chinooks, go to the seminar. If you want to scratch that itch, go listen to Mark. And I'm sure there'll be others there too. It'll be a great discussion. I know like the guys down in angling sports in London, the walleye bite is on the Thames and those rivers. It's on right now, and it's open. It's open till March the 15th. Dude, that's still almost 3 weeks of river fishing we got up ahead of us. If guys want to get out and catch some walleye, and the steelhead are running, some of the runs this year, if you want to catch some good rainbows, you better get out in the next few weeks, because I think based on these weather patterns, the spring opener is going to be pretty quiet this year. Fish have been running. So
I have to agree. Talking to Buck Fishes and a few of the folks that are down in the Detroit area, DR is on fire right now. And it seems as if the females are staging, if not starting to move into the river. So I do believe that the walleye are going to spawn a little bit earlier this year in the Detroit River. And likely, as Jay just said, they're going to be spawning a lot sooner in other bodies of water. But yeah, with this rain that's coming, I think tomorrow and into Wednesday, do you think that we're at a temperature right now that you could see a steelhead run in the next couple of days after, Jay?
Oh, yeah. This rain that's coming, so this will be our first big precip event in Southern Ontario in the last month. Like, we haven't had a lot of rain. And the forecast around here is anywhere from 20 to 35 millimeters, depending where you are. Yeah. Thunderstorms, I do know that they're predicting thunderstorms. And my experience is when thunderstorms get rolling, those fish get moving. They love thunderstorms. I don't know what that is. I can't explain that biologically, but that's been my experience. I used to have a buddy who in college, he was working the fish weir on Wilmot. And, this is back in the 90s. And he would have to stay out there all night counting steelhead, doing his co-op placement with Fleming College. And he told me that the thunderstorms would roll through in April, and that's when the fish would move all night, like hard movements of fish. So that's going to happen. That's going to happen this week. Not even if we get thunderstorms, just the rain that we're getting. Right now, the water levels have dropped. I know some of the rivers around here are like we've had our high spring water. The snow's all melted. It's gone. So what's happening now is the water, we're not getting a lot of snow melt anymore in Southern Ontario. So I say Southern, like I'm extreme Southern, like everywhere, a lot of the Lake Erie tribs, Lake St. Clair tribs, when we're talking walleye fishing, they're getting with the waters have dropped. They're starting to warm now. And then you're going to get this warm rain and those fish are going to be moving. And that's what's going to happen.
So that brings me to a concern that a lot of folks are having, and I know you and I talked about this as well. Without that snowpack, with that big rush of rain early in the season, early in the spring, still winter in a lot of people's opinions, depending on where you are. As Laura has mentioned, there's still lots of ice up in Kirkland Lake. But that's 10 hours north of the GTA as asked. So, we saw Matagami had a great derby this past weekend. Lots of pike were caught, but again, they're on 18 to 2 feet of ice. So there's areas far north that are successful, but down here, as Jay and I are mentioning, it is probably done. And
it's amazing how there's such a real difference between, and I'm going to say, to me, and I know George will appreciate this. Southern Ontario to me is everything south of Algonquin Park. That's south to me. Okay. So, and basically the ice conditions from Algonquin down right now are really deteriorating fast. Especially on the bigger lakes, smaller lakes. I have some buddies who are doing some ice camping next weekend on some small lakes in around the sort of Muskoka, Bracebridge area. They'll probably be fine. But yeah, it's getting, and the conditions are really deteriorating too. Like, it's hard to use an ATV in that icy deep snow, but it's not good for sleds either. So we're going through all this now that typically we're seeing at the end of March, and it's the end of February. We're doing this now. We haven't not had winter, but it definitely isn't not a typical winter. And we're going to probably see some long-term effects of this. Unfortunately, it's going to affect lake levels. It's probably going to affect water levels, but we won't know for sure what that turns into, because we could have a really wet spring too. This could turn on us, right?
Well, this is what some forecasters are predicting. And of course, Joe, you're saying what a lot of us are feeling when it comes to the snowpack and the amount of thaw. But to your point, Jay, if we get those kind of 20, 30, 40 mil rain events, we're gonna have more water than we can count on. So let's hope, fingers crossed, that that's the way it goes for the spring. Because if it doesn't, to your point, we are going to be looking at a lot of new shoreline.
Well, and on that note, I have to share something with you, Scotty. And I see that Trevor's working tonight, so he's not here to jump on and talk about this. I'm going to share my screen. So speaking of spring, we have a pretty cool announcement to make. So there we are this weekend. Now, I know we're going to talk about Sunday's show. I'm not taking away from that, because I do want to talk about that. On Saturday, March the 2nd, at the Odd in Simcoe, they're doing the Home and Lifestyle Show. And me and the boys are doing a kayak fishing seminar at the home show. Isn't that awesome?
That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy, man?
Awesome.
The Chamber of Commerce, some of the friends on there reached out to me. I've been friends with the tourism folks around here for a long time. And we're doing that on Saturday for an hour. And we're going to be talking kayak fishing in Norfolk. Frank Ferragini, the flower guy, he's not there till Sunday, but we're going to be back to back with landscapers, the whole home show. There's folks there that are like, you want a hot tub, you want to put new roof on your house, you want to find a builder. Geez, we're going to be doing this on Saturday, and we're the only fishing people in the entire room. There's not even tackle vendors there, but they're trying to showcase what the opportunities are in Norfolk County and our area for homeowners and for new folks coming to town. And shout out to Stephanie, because Styles by Steph will be there selling bracelets. They have a cool section for young entrepreneurs on the weekend. So Stephanie will be there selling some bracelets, and she might have a few bracelets for sale on Sunday. The rumor is the ladies will be coming on Sunday, and I'm going to stop sharing that now. And even Heather's parents, who live in Woodstock, coming on Sunday, buddy. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
It is. It's overwhelming. As I said, having folks, and the one takeaway I will say about the Ottawa show is, of course, they always engage local anglers. Any local sticks, they do a great job bringing local talent in. And Woodstock is an area, not too far from Delhi. It's not too far from Sparkus's back where he loves to fish. Engaging that local talent, I think, is one of the things that has really helped with the promotion of our show. But I can't say enough about the vendors. And Jay, you, Trevor, Owen, and the entire Barnucz family, again, you are just like everybody else that has gone above and beyond to try and pump our tires on this.
We talked about this backstage before the show, and I feel for you, man. Like the Hamilton Bassmasters have their swap meet right at the Ancaster Fairgrounds. Me and a couple buddies were the sort of starters of that. We actually used to have that event at a bowling alley in Hamilton up on the mountain, and it was a real dump of a place, but it was free. We had about 20 vendors, maybe not even that many the first year, 15 vendors. And then we grew it, and then we moved it out to the fairgrounds into that huge hall. And the club had to cough up like $1,200 or $1,500 as a down payment for that place, and it was huge. And I remember the anxiety we had, dude, of like, is this going to work? Like, this is Kevin Costner Field of Dream stuff happening, right? Like, and you're like, is this going to happen? But all week, not even all week, for the past 2 weeks, the positive vibes, Lake Simcoe Power Box, hey, Handlebars, like, I got their shirt on tonight. I know Mike's been reaching out. Das King, I saw them on the list. Reach out to Darren. Hey, man, I was even getting ready for Oklahoma. Shout out to my boy Jeff Penner. Jeff Stiggs is going to be there. I can't even talk about all the different vendors. I've been scrolling the list, looking who do I want to talk to. There's so many people I want to see, and I want to check out what they got. I saw Off the Dock Baits is coming. I don't want to forget somebody, so I'll stop there because there's so many great vendors coming. And Scotty, it's right off the highway. The weather's going to be great this weekend, like for getting around. It's not typical winter weather. And the London Boat Show was canceled, and no one knew about the being canceled. I heard of folks like heading to London thinking the show was on, and it's not. And so there's friends and family coming. I got friends coming from like Chatham, from Windsor. Jim said people are coming from Kingston. Like, it's happening, man. It's happening. So I don't want to count my eggs yet, and it's not even my eggs, dude. You like, I know you're feeling pressure. You're sitting there, and I know. I don't want to psych you out.
No. As I said, it's a good pressure, but it is overwhelming. And if there's anything I can say, and Moose is going to be coming up here next to talk about some of the stuff that we may have to do just in the parking lot to keep people engaged. I know you, Owen, and Trevor are going to keep everybody, as well as all the other presenters, Big Jim, entertained inside. You're going to be at the presenters end of the building. We've got the tackle swap that are going to be in there. And of course, there are still tables available. So if you are interested in getting rid of some of that stuff that's been collecting dust, maybe you're a store that wants to get rid of some old stock, please reach out to Brad and I. We'll help you out the best we can to get you a table. But as I said, if it becomes bigger than we had anticipated, all I can stress is, folks, we weren't expecting that, and we will do everything we can to keep you happy. But I see this becoming another CanCast like the first year when we had an overwhelming crowd, and they did a fantastic job. And I hope we're just as good at keeping.
Yeah, I think it's a great regional show, man. Yeah. Like I think I didn't go to CanCast last year. It was at the end of the season last year, and I was kind of showed out by that time. I regretted afterwards not going after seeing how great it was. I will fully admit. I want to go this year. Trevor and I will be there this year. We're not like, we'll probably be hanging out with, I know like Rawfish will be there. Tim and Enzo at Powerbox will be there. But just me as an angler, I sort of like, I don't want to go. It's like 3 hours. It's like 6 hour day. Should have went. I was regretting it afterwards. So this is great, Scotty, because it's a regional show. So for a lot of I was talking with anglers locally, like the Long Point Bay anglers, Erie Bassmasters, sort of all my connections and with those local groups, and they're excited, man. They're really excited. And, like, geez, what, OWA is going to be there, Ontario Women Anglers. Is Yvonne coming?
So OWA, they had to pull out. They couldn't get anybody to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Yvonne was very upset, and she so much wanted to be a part of it. But GCFA is going to be there.
Nice.
Alicia's going to be running their booth. So thanks to Alicia. As I said, we started this, as you know, Jay, as an appreciation day, and it was a CFN appreciation day in the sense that you guys, all these vendors got us through COVID. They didn't let us down. We were able to get gear, terminal tackle, and stuff that we needed in order to go out and enjoy a day of fishing. And this is for all those gifts and prizes and what have you that are given to our events, our retreats, the CFN Fish Off. This was our way of giving back. What it has turned into, it's got Brad and I speechless. Like that's where we're at right now. And
I'll tackle like Brad and you around. I forgot to mention him. Like he's been great to us and so many others too. Ugly Boys Bates. Oh my God, man.
I know.
Yeah, it's so exciting, man. So
100%.
And yeah, like I said to you, we'll be there the whole day. And I'm not joking. You reach out to us if you need help in the morning, dude. I'm telling you that we will come help you out. I know how these shows are, and if we can lend a hand, we definitely will.
Thanks, buddy. Well, listen, I will count on that, as well as all of the great presentations, including yours, Trevor's and Owen's. Again, Sunday, we're going to see this man as well as a whole bunch of other folks that are going to be showing up. And Jay, as always, thanks so much for coming here every Monday, doing what you do. Even outside of the show, my friend, the support that you give this industry is no different than that of Jim. You build it, and dude, we came and we're here, and thank you for that.
My pleasure, man. Hey, dude, this you guys, CFN, you make this really easy to do for me. So I appreciate you guys too. So we'll see you on Sunday. And just a quick update, 2 weeks to Oklahoma. So I'll give you that update next week. All right.
Yeah, baby. Can't wait to have the lads on here to talk about it as well. Jay, have yourself a great night. Give a hug to Steph, Heather, and Trevor for us.
I will.
All right. We'll see you on Sunday, my friend.
Bye, everyone. See you Sunday.
All right. We got Moose coming up right after a word from our sponsor.
What is Flash Boost? Shimano designed innovative Flash Boost technology. It keeps flashing, which attracts fish whether in a pause or while retrieving. The mirror plate, which is fixed by a spring inside the body, vibrates with the lure action to generate diffuse reflection. Even if you stop the lure action, the inner plate will move and continue to flash, giving the lure a sense of life and inviting a fish bite. This is Flash Boost.
And
this is
up. And this
what's
is
happening?
Moose. That's Moose right there. Moose.
How are you, buddy? How are you?
So great.
What's happening, guys? Excuse the mess behind me. It's been a hectic few weeks. Very, very, very hectic.
Well, as I said, Moose, it's always a pleasure to have you on, because I know whatever it is that we're going to be talking about, it's going to be interesting to not only me, you, but the entire community. So, first of all, what have you been up to?
Oh, buddy, look at these bags under these eyes.
That's why I'm asking.
They are. I'm tired. I've been a tired boy. It's been a busy. It's been a busy few weeks. I mean, as you guys know, Tony, what's up? Howard, what's up? As you guys know, the Spring Fishing Boat Show was busy, lots to do in the background, and it was a lot of fun. You know what? From the boat show, for me, everything starts just before, just after the New Year, actually. So from the boat show to the Spring Fishing and Boat Show to all these, smaller gatherings, your show coming up this weekend, CanCast, Sportsman Show. I'm going to go check that out because I'm curious on how things are going to go there. And then, the Ottawa show, there are shows everywhere.
Yep.
And, there's no sugarcoating it. We're all in the same boat, literally. The international boat show pretty much determines what the rest of the season is going to look like. At least that's what I think. If they have big traffic, we're going to see big traffic right across the board. If they don't have big traffic, it's going to be a weary one. But what I noticed at the International Boat Show is people are not spending. And obviously with the way times are, they're just not. But there are people with money still that are spending. People aren't financing things. They're not, they're straight up buying like, hey, you know what? We got to live. I got the money. It's sitting aside. It's not going to do anything for me. Interest rates suck. I'm not moving. I'm not renovating anymore. I've done all that. For the past 2-3 years, we've renovated and we've bought and we've done A, B, and C. Got a bit of money set aside. I'm going to buy myself a nice simple boat. Instead of an 18, I'll buy 16. Instead of a 19, I'll buy 17. So people are still spending, but they're a little bit more cautious. So, and I think that you could see that. right across the board, everywhere we went over the past couple of months, you could see it. I wish I was in Ottawa to see it, but
and then of course you talk to some of the marinas and boat dealers, and they were very pleasantly surprised. A lot of the tackle producers as well were pleasantly surprised at the outcomes of the show. And one boat in particular that really caught a lot of our attention was this pontoon boat that had 400 horse Merc on it. I believe the sticker price was 180,000. Let's say.
Yeah, man.
Someone bought it. I know. Someone bought it.
That's insane. That is crazy to me.
Yeah.
That is crazy to me. I mean, $500,000 boat. Listen, if you could afford to buy a $500,000 boat, good on you. Do it. Why not? But yeah, that's crazy.
I know. That's what I
500,000. Well, you see some of those Kingfishers we were next to, right? Like the Kingfisher or the old big water hunks of steel. Pretty penny, man. Pretty penny. But with that being said, some of the smaller vessels were reasonably priced. So I'm not sure if some of you guys know, but I work with London in the background, and I do some pro staff stuff for them. And before the International Boat Show, they send me a whole bunch of verbiage and prices, and I make the signs for the show. And I was really impressed on I want to say it's the 16 and 17 foot prices. They're starting to come back down. Now, some of you might be shaking your head and be like, no, they're not, Moose. They're totally coming down. Where things have gone up is the interest rates. So don't be fooled. If you're ever looking at a boat, take things into consideration. For example, if a boat has a price tag, and let's just call it $40,000, but it comes with 2 graphs, a trolling motor, and a whole bunch of bells and whistles, well, guess what drove that price up? It's all the extras. But if you're looking at a boat and it's reasonably priced, or why is it so low? It's probably because it comes with nothing. And a lot of people, let's face it, some people don't use graphs. Some people just want a boat to go boating. They don't really care for depth and this, that, and the other thing. Or they have an old graph that they're going to put on a new boat. So I'm sure it's not rocket science, and some of you may know this, but for some of you that don't, next time you're at a boat show or a fishing show or any type of show, stop and look at the details, because the price, the things that are on that boat, really, you can break them down. You can almost take off $15,000 or $20,000 in electronics.
100%. And let's face it, nothing really is getting cheaper per se. And I'm going to assume that gadget that you're playing with is something that we're going to be talking about real soon.
Yes. Yeah.
Go right ahead, my friend, because this is what everybody waits for. I will say this: your camera discussion, your all of your discussions, Moose, really, people really appreciate it. I'm not just saying it because you're here, but the one thing that people really loved was your detailed explanation of all those cameras that are available, and you really help people purchase the right one that fit their needs. So
yeah,
keep up the great work.
Again, like boats, there's a lot on the market, and you can get into the right boat if you want to go afloat. 14, 16, 17, 18, 20, 22, whatever your budget allows for. And cameras are just like boats. So you can get a camera with a ridiculous amount of options.
Yeah.
Or you can get a camera that just does the trick. And let's face it, we all have one of these, right? And they are probably one of the most powerful tools that we own to date. Whether it's AI editing or hand gestures or just voice commands. Like, your phone does a lot more than you think, and it's just a matter of figuring out your settings, playing with your settings to make it look like there's a bit of depth of field or depth of field. For some of you that don't know, like, if I'm taking a picture and I want everything in the background blurry and everything in the foreground, go and play with your settings. A lot of the times you can get some beautiful pictures and videos just by messing around with some of the manual settings, or even some of the presets, like a wide angle preset. And you see all fishermen are notorious for this. A wide angle preset. So you select your wide angle, and then there's usually 3 characters, right? So you have a single person, a double person, and a triple person. Or for Samsung users, there'll be I think 2, 6, 8, and 10, which is your zoom. And a lot of times, if you zoom out to an 8 and 10 in a wide angle, and then you come right up to your subject. You want to talk about a cool picture, man. That is different. That is different for sure. So yeah, play with your cameras. iPhones are getting there. That's for the iPhone people. It doesn't. You can't beat. I mean, in my opinion, you can't beat a Samsung camera. They are phenomenal. iPhones are just as good. Don't get me wrong; they really are just as good. But yeah, play with the features, play with the settings. Go to the manual settings. You know, use your ISO and your black and white, and go up and down. You want a darker photo, lighter photo, more sky, less sky. There are so many things you can do after you've taken your photo to enhance it. And I'm not talking about an app that just you click a button and it, does some weird filter. If you take 3 pictures, for example, and next time you guys are online and you're poking around, type in HDR photography or HDR videos. A lot of the cameras take HDR videos. HDR photography, again, it's as simple as clicking a button now, taking a photo, and it's quote unquote HDR. But to get a true, proper HDR photo, you take 3 pictures. 1 super light, 1 normal, and 1 super dark. And you're basically overlapping all 3 to get all of the different aspects of the color spectrum to just really shine. And if you look up some of the HDR photography from, New York or Toronto, it's phenomenal what you can do with 3 photos and you layer them. It's absolutely incredible. So I highly recommend poking around on some of these apps and trying to figure out the manual settings for HDR photography. So
great advice. Absolutely great advice. And I see Sean Quinn is on here. And I have to say his new venture, I can't say it because this is a family show, but Dip Shite Outdoors. Sean, I can't thank you enough. You are an open book, dude. Love you how you conduct yourself. You're funny as heck, but got into a situation, I believe it was on Simcoe, and he just called it as it is. At the end of the day, don't forget some of the most important things like your license. And Sean is not one of those anglers that we would ever have to worry about doing the wrong thing. And in fact, even when he did get out there and he did have a good haul of perch, he unfortunately was shocked to know that he had forgotten his license at home.
Oh, there was no good haul of perch. He got skunked. Not skunked. He had 2. Sorry, Sean.
Oh, he had 2? Okay. All right.
But either way, I mean, a lot of us forget. I forgot. I know mine's up for renewal, but it ends in December 31st. Make sure you renew your licenses, because these guys, a lot of the times, they might say, okay, we'll let it slide, just go renew it online, or you could do it right there. Let's face it, it's one of those, they need the money too, so they're gonna ding you. It's up to you. It's up to you to stay responsible. They don't need to remind you. You need to keep up to date. Shut up, Moose.
Love it.
Yeah, you know what it was is he threw out the infamous it's going to be a smash fest. Anytime Sean says it's going to be a smash fest, it is not a smash fest. So you can check out some of the
whether he's got a 200 horse or a 50 horse on the back. You're right. Some of the most, I would have to say, it's right up there with bringing bananas on the boat. When Sean says it's a smash fest, you might as well go back to the dock.
It's true. It's true. But you know what's funny, actually? So talking about gear and stuff, if you guys don't know who Sean Quinn is, get to know him. He's one of those characters that will honestly bend over backwards to help you in any sort of way that he can. And he's helped me out so much. I bought him a camera last year. I was shopping, and so I ended up buying a new 360 camera, and I bought him a 360 camera. And he instantly threw it on his boat, and he's like, Moose, this thing is the coolest thing ever. I don't have to worry about anything, because it captures everything. So I have one rolling right now, and I was going to do a 360 video with you, but it's a little bit more complicated. But I will show you what is going on in the background. So here is the Insta360. So it's on my table behind me, right? And you could literally scroll around. That's my ashtray, sorry. The whole room, and it's capturing everything. That's my back right now. So that's like right behind me.
Wow.
Right? So I'm going to come in a little bit more. But you can record in 360 degrees straight up, straight down, and all around.
So, Moose, for those who may not understand the technology of a 360 camera, is this taking away the need for those multiple, like, you know, when you have bass boats and they're set up with all kinds of GoPros, is this taking away the need to have that many GoPros?
No. It's just another tool to capture beef footage. You can get really good footage with a 360 camera. A lot of the times the software that it comes with eliminates that fisheye, and there's tons of different, there's horizon lock and a ton of different features. And this is what I mean by having the right camera doesn't ensure you that you're going to have the right footage. So you also got to know and understand the software. But for an Insta360, if I were to throw it out on the back of my boat and only rely on that, the file sizes are huge. They record in 4K, 3K, 100 frames per second, so you can get some really cool slow motion footage that you didn't even know was being filmed. So let's say somebody flew by on their boat. They recognize you, you didn't recognize them. Oh, Scotty, I mooned you on my way by. You can go back to that footage, slow it right down, zoom in, and see the exact moment that they had the thought of doing such disgusting things. But no, I wouldn't rely just on a 360. Reason being is editing in 360 software, especially with Adobe Premiere, if you're not very familiar with the editing software, can be difficult. But I use it as a backup because it's great B footage. It's great B-roll, where if something's happening in front of the GoPro, but something's happening elsewhere, I can refer to the 360. And it's just nice to have that. And there's a lot of things you can do with the 360, man. It's but I wouldn't solely rely on just that.
Gotcha. Great.
Yeah.
Great answer. And of course, Joe's asking, I know you've talked about it before on an episode in regards to the many various generations as well as versions of the 360, but roughly ballpark, what would someone to get an average 360 camera that has enough bells and whistles to get the job done? What are you looking to spend?
Let me share a screen with you. I do have it here somewhere. How do I share a screen? Share screen. Yes. Okay, let's go to... Let's go here to start. Share. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So this is another one of the cameras that I'm going to talk to you guys about. But 360. So there is the Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3. Right here is the X1. There's the X2. There's the X3. The X1 doesn't have a screen, so you can't really see what you're shooting. But it's not to say that you can't pick up your phone and look at it on your phone, because it connects to your phone. You can change all the settings on your phone. You can pan around and select your horizon on your phone. So if you want to get into the 360 market, you could do so with the X1. It's fairly inexpensive because it's a first generation model. Currently, they are going for, I don't know. The price is not listed, but hold on a second. It was just here. But you can find them on Amazon for pretty cheap, and you can find them on Marketplace for even cheaper.
Really?
Oh yeah, you can probably get an X1 for 150, 200 bucks. Wow. And that's chances are you're getting a whole bunch of accessories with it because it's an X1. It's an older model. The X2 is $419, and as you can see, it's got a little screen on the front, right? And it's a super sleek, small camera. The cool part about this is this does underwater footage. It's fully waterproof, up to 30 meters, I believe is what it is. So it's a waterproof camera. As you can see on the side here, there's those two little tabs. That's where the battery is. It pops out. There's a rubber ring around it. It's fully waterproof. You can stick this under the water and record underwater footage. Super cool. What I don't recommend is buying backup batteries from China, because if they don't have the blue ring on the inside and they have an orange ring, they leak. So I found that out the hard way. Yeah, that was not fun at all. But then you got the X3, so that's about the $450 price range, and then you get into the X3, and then you're into a standalone cameras, $530, and then there's different creator kits, a motorcycle kit, the ultimate kit, the bike kit, creators kit. There's a whole bunch of different, and all of those are is just different types of accessories that come with it. There is a dive case. I highly recommend the dive case because you never know. But there is a dive case for it. And again, once this is on a stick, let's say you've got it on your YOLO stick, it's at the back of the boat, and you want to do a live release. If you have your waterproof case on and you go to do a live release, you literally pull your YOLO stick out of the back of the boat, shove it in the water, you have your phone in your hand, you hit record, you do your live release, and then you pull it back out and stick it back in your boat. It just makes things so easy that you can control everything from your phone. So that's definitely something on the more expensive side of things. But yeah, the Insta360 is a very cool camera if you want to get into 360 shooting.
100%. And to what Joe has said, it's hard taking a selfie by yourself with a big bass or walleye, and these 360 cameras and all this technology is making it easier for us to make those posts that we want to keep, and the keepsakes that the memories that they exude as well. So
yeah,
that's
the other thing too, is like a good phone holder.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it's something like this that's got multiple arms I can, grasp onto things, or a clamp, goes a long way. You slide your phone onto it. The quad lock has unbelievable mounts, and you slide your phone onto it. And again, with all these cameras, whether it's the phone, little cameras, big cameras, they all have gesture controls. They all have audio controls. So I can hold up a fish and say, Insta, take photo, and it'll take a photo. Insta, start recording, it'll start recording. Insta, stop recording. I could tell it to Insta, put in a keyframe, because if something happened and I want to remember it, Insta, stop recording, start recording. There's all these different things that it'll do. Gestures, with this, so my web camera is also, we'll go back to this in a minute here, this little camera, but I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. So my web camera is also from the fine folks at Insta360, and it looks like not Insta360, from DJI. So this is the Osmo webcam, right? And it has a load of features. You can zoom in and zoom out, and as you can see, for a webcam, that's pretty decent quality, right?
Yep.
You can see the fact that I haven't shaved and I have hairy ears, right?
Well, Tony Szynowski was mentioning your nose hairs there a little while back, but
right?
Yeah, but to your point, it is
how tired my face is, the wrinkles.
Yeah.
So super cool cameras, very, very, very high definition. It's got a lot of features. There is also a feature that I love, and a lot of the times when I'm showing some clients things, some products, and we're talking about things, is the auto tracking. So auto tracking, I'm hands free right now, and as I go and we can talk and whatever, it'll just follow me. So if I get up, now it's probably sensing this camera, but it'll just follow me as I go, and I'm talking about A, B, and C, and here's my box, and here's this, and here's that. There's a pillow above my casting couch. My shop is a disaster. But yeah, so super neat camera. Again, DJI, Insta360. They've sort of done their thing and perfected specific parts of the market. The cool part is I can use this camera on my boat as well, right? So it's just a tiny, it's literally that big. And so I can use this on my boat as well. But it comes in a different form. It comes in the form of this guy. So my webcam looks identical to this. It's literally just this upper portion, right? Without this lower portion. And that's the one I use on the boat the most because it is a gimbal.
Oh, wow.
Turns on. Right?
That's awesome.
So it's got a full So my boat now, again, against the wind doing 35K, it doesn't hold up too well. But if the boats are rocking, my footage is super, super stable, right? You could do portrait, you could do landscape, you could talk to it, has gesture controls, all kinds of stuff. So those are just a few cameras to play with. And this, again, comes with a ridiculous amount of mounts, whether it's a hat mount or a shoulder mount. You see a lot of guys that love it on their shoulder and they'll be walking around and moving like this, but their footage is like super, super stiff. Well, I'm going to take off this feature here. But yeah, so this little guy here, and again, this is the 3rd generation. You can buy the 1st gen, you can buy the 2nd gen. They're just as good. I like it just for this that little feature right there.
100%.
I don't know. I'm a nerd. I'm a tech geek, right? So you turn it off, it turns off. Continue. Bye. Turn it on and I say, okay, wake up. Right.
Boom.
Super cool camera. Very, very stable footage. This thing is loaded with features. Like if you were to buy one of these, you wouldn't need anything else. Nothing else. You'll buy every accessory there is. There is an underwater accessory for this as well. But yeah, super cool camera to have. It's called the Pocket 3. So there is the original DJI Pocket, Osmo, or the Osmo Pocket, Osmo Pocket 2, Osmo Pocket 3.
And Joe's asking, like, when it comes to mounting, are you strictly using YOLOtech, those YOLO sticks, or are you?
So in a boat, yeah, I've got 4 or 5 of them. I had the original from back in the day when we were working with them, and now that YOLOtech Canada, Mr. Kyle and Tim Fernandez sort of took it over, and they're now the distributors for YOLOtech Canada. They got one of the new models in my hand, and they're phenomenal. They're really good. So, and honestly, like if you don't have power in your boat, let's say you're just running an aluminum, this thing doesn't go anywhere, or I don't go anywhere without this thing. It's always in the back of my truck.
Yeah.
Tons of power for days. And then the cool part is my fat little fingers right there is where I plug in my YOLOtech. So, and I use it everywhere. I use it when I'm working around the house. I want to film some stuff. I'm building a deck or blah, blah, blah. So Simcoe Powerbox, another gadget to look into when you're out shopping.
100%. Mark is asking, battery life as a standalone unit, that both the 360, the Insta, as well as the Osmo 3.
So the battery life varies based on how you're shooting. So the higher resolution you're shooting, the more Bluetooth power you're using, the quicker you're going to deplete the battery. Always good to have multiple batteries on site. Batteries aren't expensive. But then again, if you've got something like the YOLOtech, you've got constant power and you don't have to worry about it. The only thing you got to worry about is your memory stick filling up. But then again, it has a loop feature. So you can record on the loop feature. And if let's say it fills up 256 gigs of your memory stick, it'll go back to the original video and start recording over it, unless you tell it not to. So let's say Scotty and I are fishing, and let's say we're halfway through the day, or we're fishing and it's the beginning of the day, we caught a fish. You would want to hit stop and start on your record. Reason being, it's not going to loop over that video. It'll loop over every other video except for that video. So you can set your loops to be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I recommend 5 because the file size gets so big that it's difficult to import, export, render, and edit. So yeah, keep in mind, definitely have a power supply, even something as small as a battery pack. Something like just a tiny little battery pack. You plug it into the side of any one of the units. The only time you're using the unit's battery on its own is usually when you're doing anything underwater.
Great. I appreciate it. Of course, Sean is asking, why Brandy's asking, wants to know, why do we bring cameras if we don't catch fish? And Brandy, thanks for pointing that out. We went the whole show without having to no, I'm kidding. Brandy, you're 100% right. Sean?
Brandy, there's a lot of things that I saw a video today that put things into perspective. We spend all this money on fishing gear.
Yeah.
And we spend all this money on fishing tackle. We spend all this time out on the water to catch a fish, to post it, only for a bunch of dudes to like it, and then that's it. It gets lost in translation. That's super. I'm not going to say the word, but yeah, that we just that's what we do, Brandy. That's what we do. That's what we do. I'm going to show you one more. I'm going to show you one more before we talk or before we go on here. So on here, this little guy, the size of my thumb. Yep. This is probably the most powerful camera I have. So hat mount, it comes with a shitload of accessories. This is a super cool camera. So not only can you use it as a body cam, but they've got this little tiny enclosure that looks like a GoPro. It looks like an Insta360 camera. Then it has the flip up screen. You clip it into here. And now you have what's like a GoPro. Put that down. So there's your Insta360, you know, Go 3. This is the Go 3, which is like your GoPro, your DJI. If you want it to be a little bit more incognito and let's say you're hiking, you're running with your dog or whatever, you can place it onto this little hat mount right here, which is just a clip, right? That clips onto your hat. Or it comes with a medallion and you can just clip it to your shirt. Just like that. Wow. It doesn't come off. So all the medallion is just a little piece of metal. There's a magnet on the back. And that's it. So a ton of different options. And I wanted to show you guys these options because they're all on sale right now. And I think new models are coming out. That's not to say that these models are still good. But as you guys know, every 6 months there's a new model of something. So every one of these cameras that I showed you is on sale. So either at DJI or at Insta360. So you definitely don't want to miss out on these deals.
You know, it's funny. And one of the comments here, you know, I just want to go fishing. Well, it's so true, as do all of us. But when it comes to creating content, and this character right here is fantastic at that, because when it comes, it's great to get great video. Yeah. But it's the editing aspect. And when these cameras come up with the software that makes it easy for guys like myself to edit, my buy-in is 100%. I'm all in. So big shout out to Insta for
and they're not wrong. We just want to go fishing. So, you know, I say buy yourself something that's going to keep it simple, that's going to give you the time to fish and not mess around with cables and buttons and cameras and whatnot. If you buy the right tool for the right job, you'll never have to worry about it at all. So, but yeah, those are just a couple of the things that I make sure that I've got on the boat at all times. And if I'm even if I'm going into somebody else's boat, I've got a small Yeti here, and all that stuff fits in the Yeti. I can fit 6 cameras. I can fit 4 cameras that are yay big with all their accessories. Let's say we got time to get creative. Hey, great. If we don't, I have them there.
100%. Now, I'm really excited to have you here too, Moose, to basically unveil something that's going to be happening this Friday at 8 o'clock. We're going to be picking 2 names for show dollars. And for those that weren't here in previous Mondays, congratulations to Steve Morris and, of course, Matt Bender. You currently right now have $100 in show bucks available to you at the show to be spent at the show on these various vendors. And this Friday, hoping that Mike Parker is going to be able to join us. Brad Norris is going to be joining me as well, who's the partner putting this on. But we are going to be handing out $200 in show bucks on Friday to be spent at the Made in Canada Tackle Show. And if you're watching on Friday, we're going to add another $20. So if we call your name, if the wheel lands on your name and you put in the comments, I'm here, woohoo, whatever, you're going to get an extra $20 on top of that. So
that's amazing. That's awesome.
Looking forward to that. And Moose, I'm really looking forward to having you there. When it comes to shows, you've done this time and time again. You have done it far more than I have. I still have a lot to learn, but we're excited. And with the number of vendors that are going to be showing up, I don't know. I don't know what to expect, but I do know that I'm anxious. We have Big Jim McLaughlin, who's of course going to be our MC. So he's going to be introducing and doing some segments on his own when it comes to the in-between parts between the Drew Bakers, the Sparkus Fishers, the Jason, the Trevors, and the Owens that are going to be presenting as well. But we got some local sticks, some local talent, and we're looking forward to a great show. And of course, I can't thank, hats off to all these vendors who have really hit it out of the park when it comes to promoting and pumping the tires of this show.
Absolutely. No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting in a room with everyone again. I mean, it happens at the boat show. It happens at the spring fishing boat show. It's going to happen at your show. It's going to happen at CanCast. It's going to happen at Sportsman's Show, the Cottage Show. Anywhere and everywhere you go, it's always a blast. It's always a great time to get in a room with people, talk, because sometimes you can't talk to all of them all at once, but I'm really looking forward to the conversations. And the ice is almost gone, so people are itching to get some tackle and get out there. So it's interesting to see where people are going to go first and what they're going to do. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. I know you're going to get there nice and early.
Oh yes,
try to get there early to give you a hand on setting up and stuff. And I'm sure we'll have some prize packs from the OFC Nation to give away as well. We're getting pretty bare on apparel, so we are going to put out a little contest on the next t-shirt design and hoodie design. So we're going to do 2 different designs. So that's going to be after the show. We'll concentrate on the new apparel. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this Made in Canada show. It's going to be a lot of fun. And you know what's nice too is it's in an area of the world that no one ventures off to. Not to say that no one ventures off to, but a lot of us are stuck in the Kawarthas. You guys are stuck in Toronto, and you do your Erie thing. So it'll be nice to see a different part of the province. I don't get to venture off that way very often, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
I am too, and I know I'm going to need your help when it comes to if we do get a rush and we have some folks that are standing outside. Perhaps we're going to do stupid human tricks, Moose and I. We might have some casting demonstrations and contests. We might also have some beanbag toss. Who knows? We're going to make sure that those who are waiting to get in are just as entertained as those who do get in. But needless to say, it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, it's regardless of who's there and who's not, it's going to be a blast just to talk fishing. It's always nice just to get together and talk fishing. So I'm pretty pumped about that. Yeah, man.
Right on, Moose. Well, listen, as always, dude, thanks so much for spending time with us and doing what you do. I know folks really appreciate your tech talks, all of the stuff that you bring to us. Again, we know nothing about, for most of us, and I speak for myself more so than anybody else. But again, enlightening us as you always do. You always keep us entertained. You always leave with a smile on your face.
Thank you. I'm going to say this before I go. If there's something specific that you guys want to cover or see, believe it or not, I have pretty much almost all the cameras out there. So if you see something and you want to cover it, or if you want to, call me, send me a message, you need some questions. I might actually post a few cameras up for sale soon, so keep an eye out for that. But do not hesitate to reach out. We could talk gear all day long. I mean, I'm no JP. We're not talking fishing gear. We can, but I'm not as good as he is. But as far as cameras go, cameras and software and things like that, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm going to leave you with one more quick one. I'm going to just share my screen with you, and then I'm going to go. Thank you very much, Scotty, buddy. I love you, and I appreciate everything you do, bro.
The love, it goes both ways, dude. And as I said, OFC Nation would be nothing without OFC. You guys have done, and everybody asked the question, what is this OFC Nation? And just so folks who are listening, they know, OFC did such a fantastic job building community here in the province of Ontario that when CFN sort of started to break out, I recognized that, and which was different than a lot of the approaches that go on in our industry. Why fight for the same sliver of pie when someone is that established? Let's work together. And what we've done, my God, I just sit back and
it's pretty darn cool. It's pretty darn cool.
100%.
So I'm gonna share a screen here with you. This next product I think is going to be very important. It may not have anything to do with fishing, but if you have a bigger vessel, bigger boat, or if you want to throw it in your car, it's a dash cam, and it's a dash cam that you can go live on. Very cool camera. You can also put it in your boat and go live. Another very cool feature.
Are you sharing it right now, Moose? Because we don't.
I'm about to.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing it.
I'm going to screen share. I came across this camera and I was super pumped. I know my screen's ridiculously large. I have one of those like wide gaming screens. This Garmin dash cam. It's Garmin dash cam live. Now, I know, and you're thinking, why do I need to go live in my car? Whole bunch of different reasons you can use this for. You can go live in your boat. It is not waterproof. It's splash resistant, but it's not waterproof. But let's say you've got this in your boat and there's 6 other people that have this in their boat, and we're hosting a charity event and we want to tune into what's happening into their boat. You get what I'm saying? You picking up what I'm throwing down, big dog?
I'm definitely
right. How cool would that be if I get 6 of these and at the OFC Nation retreat, we put them into the aluminums, right? And they're live 24/7, and we just let's see what Butch and Mike are up to. Tune in, boom. Hey guys, what's happening? You know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty neat little camera. Now,
that was awesome.
If you put it in your car,
the lower end. Just saying.
Oh, don't even go there. Don't even go there. But yeah, so maybe something like that might happen. But I thought that thing was pretty cool. The fact that we might be able to, put them in a bunch of ice huts over the winter. We do the ice fishing challenge.
Yeah.
And I won't say too much more about that, but there is some big numbers being thrown around for this ice fishing challenge that we're going to put together with some new friends next year. It's definitely something that's going to blow your mind. But how cool would it be to have these in the hut, and you just let's just tune into this hut and tune into that hut, and tune into this hut.
We might have to have a 30-second delay for folks like Sean Quinn to put their pants back on, or put, or whatever.
Right. It is what it is. We'll get them to sign waivers. It's fine. Everything's fine. But as far as tech goes, that's it for me, guys. I appreciate y'all. Do not forget BKFO.
Amen.
See you later.
All right, buddy. All the best. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. Well, there it is. Another show. Thanks so much for all of you for joining, as you always do every Monday. Big shout out. Thank you to, of course, Big Jim, my buddy Steve, who's behind the scenes tagging and putting all kinds of links and what have you, keeping you guys engaged so that you can go back and you can look at some of these links and go to where it is that you're looking for that information. As always, Lawrence comes on here and does what he does when it comes to informing us about the state of our fishery. And Jay, he explains in great detail some of the nuances that perhaps we don't know. And of course, my good buddy Moose. Love you too, my friend. Everything that you bring to our industry, of course, our OFC Nation and CFN, I can't thank you enough. To all those that joined and stayed with us, we're going to see you again on Friday at 8 o'clock, where we're going to be giving away 2 $100 in show bucks at the Made in Canada tackle show that's going on this Sunday in Woodstock. I'm out of breath. I'm out of time, and it's time for you folks to get on with your night. Thanks for sticking around as long as you did. Dave, take us away. Have yourselves a great week. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end.